God, I miss the North Country, no power lines, no dead-end streets. Mother Nature waits for me back in the North Country.
Hey everybody, it's Sealy Dave, your Hyperborean reporter, with a little different update on Life Above 8 today. It's raining outside, so I just thought, the forecast has some more rain in the future for the next week or so, so I just thought it was about time to re-waterproof my boots, and I thought I'd share with you guys how I do it. I make my own waterproofing mixture for that. And I always wear, now when I ride, almost, I'd say 99% of the time, I don't really change my clothes much from what I'm wearing when I'm working around the yard or whatever. And even when I go bike packing, I wear my Thorogood work boots, which I wear all the time anyway. And after I saw, had sort of the epiphany of Alexandra Houchen winning races in hers, and I asked myself, hey, these are my favorite footwear. Why don't I wear them when I ride my bike? And so I started doing that, and I sort of fell in love with it. They're great for bike packing specifically. So I like them because I can wear them around camp. They've got fairly stiff soles, so I don't get soreness from pedaling for days, and their soles are fairly grippy, and they're very comfortable, particularly after you waterproof them. And so my technique is a little bit different than maybe what a lot of people do. I heat these, and I've tried mink oils, even I've used Proofide, and I find that a very simple mixture of beeswax and another oil like olive oil or castor oil or sunflower oil with just a little bit of some sort of like scent in it, just to make it smell a little bit nicer. This is, I've got here some cedarwood oil. That's really all it takes. It's about a 50-50 mixture. You can vary that. It depends on if you want your stuff to be more pasty and soft. But and that you might want to add a little bit more of the oil with the beeswax than 1-to-1. But you can also add other things. Some other people, I've done it in the past where I've added coconut oil and coconut butter, things like that, shea butter. All those things can be added, but I don't really find it makes much difference. I just use beeswax and some sort of oil. And then, as I said, I heat the boots and I warm the oil, the boot dressing, because it settles into a pretty thick paste, which you can apply with a cloth, but I like to just brush it on, and I like to brush it on warm leather. That way it seems to soak in really well, and then I put the boots back in the oven one more time and let it the leather absorb all the rest of the extra that may have dried or cooled as I applied it. So I heat the boots at about 170 degrees, the lowest temperature my oven will go, and we'll just stick them in the oven, and I'll stick this in the oven with the boots, and that'll melt. The 10 minutes or so when the boots are warm, this should be melted, and we'll come back and we'll start applying it. Okay, the boots have been in the oven for about 10 minutes or so. That should be enough to warm the leather up. I do take the laces out and the insoles out before I put them in there. I don't know if it matters. It's a lot easier to put the waterproofing on the tongue area if you've got the laces out. But so I take those out and the insoles in the oven, 170 degrees, with the beeswax and oil mixture. You can also warm that in a microwave for 2-3 minutes to liquefy it, and then I apply that with just a cheap brush, and then we'll put those boots back in the oven and let them soak in a little bit more. So I'll pull those out now, and then we'll start applying. Leave one in there maybe. Keep it warm. we'll leave one boot in there just to keep it warm. So this one feels nice and warm, but not hot, not too hot to touch. This is a little bit hot. The glass is a little bit hot to touch, so I just use my work glove. But as you can see, this is a nice liquid now, and I'll just apply it, just rub it all over. I pay special attention to the seams, to all the places where stitching is and where the leather joins, just to seal those areas particularly well. I'll try to zoom in a little bit here. It's a little bit messy, so I use just, newspaper or cardboard I've got today underneath it. But like I said, just rub it all in. Don't worry if some chunks build up like that. This is not an exact science. The leather it'll soak it all in when you put it back in the oven. Other one out. So I like using, like I said, I've used all the different other commercial stuff, the mink oil, which I guess, I don't think any of them work as well as beeswax. This beeswax mixture does. So even if you get them to soak in, I've used Snow Seal, and I've tried Snow Seal with the oven method here where it soaks in. I don't think that lasts as long or works as well. I just like the fact that this is super natural and really easy to make. It doesn't take hardly any time to melt it. You just put the chunks of beeswax in your jar and with the oil mixture, and like I said, you can warm it in the oven. You can warm it in a double boiler. You can. It is flammable, so I careful on the stove, but you can warm it in a microwave, and then the beeswax just emulsifies that lighter oil, and then it cools to a softer mixture. If you want it to be more paste-like, then you do need to add a little bit more oil or something like a coconut butter or shea butter or something like that, or cocoa butter. It works as well. And then you can apply it just with a rag, about as easy as this, but it's one less ingredient for me, so I just make this and heat it up. It's a little stiffer, but it doesn't dry clunky at all. So there we go. It's pretty heavily coated, you can see, and we'll just put this one back in the oven. If they're great though, I find they last a really long time, and for 70 bucks it's actually cheaper for me to get a new pair at the outlet rather than have them resold, which seems odd, but that's the way it is. So I've got 3 old worn out pairs in my my closet, but yeah, the Thorogood's outlet store, it's right in Merrill, right by the old factory, and if they don't always have your size and whatever, and they make a whole bunch of different boots, so I just stop whenever I'm going through. Well, those boots have been in the oven long enough, 10 minutes or so, should be enough to have allowed that leather to soak in all that extra boot dressing that we applied to the top, that we brushed onto the top. If you remember when we put them in, it was all shiny and greasy looking, and it should be fairly dry looking now. Let's see. Yeah, that worked out pretty well. There's a few spots, I'm not sure if you can see it with the camera here, that it's still a little wet in the seams, and that's because those are the areas, like I said, that I put it on the thickest. That's not a problem. I just wipe that off. Wipe it off around those seams where it was a little bit too thick to soak in. Get most of that off. couple of spots. Wipe that off with my cloth. And I'll stick these back in the oven just for a little bit, just to let that excess warmth soak in a little bit more again. So as I said, I wear Thorogood boots because they're made here in Wisconsin, and I like them, and I can go to the outlet store and I can get them really inexpensively. I always have an extra pair. I stop in that outlet store. Most times when I'm down to one working pair, I'll stop in every time I go through Maryland, because there's no guarantee that they'll have what I want in stock at the time, because these are all seconds, and there's nothing wrong with them. It's just some minor little thing that I can usually never find what's wrong with them, but they're significantly less expensive than they are in a shoe store or a Fleet Farm or somewhere like that. So this is a new pair that I have. These are the 8-inch. They also come in 6-inch, like the ones I have in the oven there, warming up still. And these are lined with a waterproof membrane. I tried these, and they are very waterproof. And I do tend to wear these more in the winter time than the unlined ones, even when they're waterproofed, because that extra lining adds some additional insulation. So I just find that they're warmer. They don't breathe quite as well. They still breathe fairly well, but the one thing that I don't like about them, with that extra membrane in there and the additional liner that goes over the top of it, is it makes the leather a little bit thicker. So the tongue is a little bit thicker, the sides are a little bit thicker, so it never really softens up like my other boots do. These are ready to probably pull out again. And you can see, so these are new, unlined 8-inch. These are my older ones that have been waterproof 6-inch. And these are just super pliable and soft and really comfortable to wear. These will turn into that. They'll be just as soft and pliable as these as soon as you put the boot dressing on using this technique that I use, and then wear them for just a little bit. Not much at all. But these, the unlined leather is, with this dressing, is very waterproof and super comfortable. Now this doesn't wear out. This has to be reapplied every once in a while. Depends on your weather, how often you have to reapply it, but it's inexpensive, and as you can see, it's really easy to do. So I find that since these are my favorite shoes or boots to wear anyway, I just wear them with flats on my bike for bike packing and for gravel riding and for mountain biking. I might put on bike shoes if I'm going out with some buddies on a road ride and they're going to get all kitted up and everything. Just so I don't look like I'm trying to prove some sort of point, but for most of my riding, I love these boots, and you just can't go wrong with them. Like I said, if you have some other brand you like, great. This waterproofing should work well with any leather boots that you like to wear. So I just thought I'd give this a demonstration because it's too rainy to ride today. And hopefully we will be back out on the bike, and I'll do another video update on conditions and the trails and what's going on here in the Northwoods soon. So I hope to see you on the bike soon, and thanks to everybody who showed up at the Hungry Bear. We had a great race, and 360 so people showed up. Our fastest finishers finished in 3 hours. 3.5 hours for the 60 and 5.5 hours for the 100, so that's almost 20 miles an hour people are averaging, the fastest riders. The slowest riders in the 100 finished in about 10.5 hours, I think. So, but everybody seemed to have a great time. We did have a couple of crashes, but nobody was complaining to me afterwards about it. They just sort of dealt with it on their own. And the vast majority of everybody had just a wonderful day. We had great weather. The Schwamigan 100 is coming up next. The Epic Mountain Bike Festival is coming up next. In the Berkey's throwing that this year. They took that over from Bora. That's coming up the first weekend in June. The next weekend after that is the Schwamigan 100. That's a terrain event that I was holding for a while, and now Canva's running it. So they'll be running that, and registration is open, so sign up for both of those events. Registration is open for the Epic Mountain Bike Festival and for for the Schwamigan 100. And then of course September is the big one, the granddaddy of them all, the Schwamigan Mountain Bike Festival, the Fat Bike 40, whatever you want to call it. The one that Gary Crandall and my buddy Phil Van Valkenburg started so many years ago. I think they're coming up on an anniversary soon. I can't remember exactly if it's a 40th anniversary or what yet, but we'll have more updates on those events soon, and hopefully I'll be back out on the bike and I can actually talk about stuff that I know about because I'll look it up ahead of time. Thanks again for joining me. Hope your feet stay dry.